Good afternoon, members of the class of 2021, their family and friends. Welcome to the 63rd Annual Commencement Ceremony of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. My name is Dr. Ed Burns, and I'm the Executive Dean at Einstein. Will the audience please acknowledge our graduates by applauding for them wherever you may be across the globe. I would also like to welcome and acknowledge the distinguished faculty, chairpersons of academic departments at Albert Einstein, honored alumni, Dr. Ruth Gottesman, Chair of the Einstein Board of Trustees, Dan Tishman, Chair of the Montefiore Medicine Board of Trustees, the President of Montefiore Medicine, and the President of Yeshiva University, and to the many who are watching today and those who are here live. Before I continue with the program, I just want to express our appreciation to our staff that allowed this to be the only live medical school graduation in New York City. President Ozawa, the annual commencement exercises of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine and the graduate programs in the biomedical sciences are now open. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join me in singing the national anthem. The invocation will follow, offered by Rabbi Elliot Schreier, Rabbi of the Albert Einstein Synagogue. Maestro?
President Ozawa, President Berman, Dean Tomaselli, members of the board, distinguished administrators and faculty, esteemed honorees, graduates, and friends. Blessed are you, God, Master of the universe, who has sustained us and kept us and brought us to greet this joyous occasion. We thank you for directing and guiding the leadership and faculty of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, for teachers whose passion for science and medical research is only surpassed by their passion for their patients and students, and who have succeeded in transmitting those joint passions to a new generation of scientists and physicians. We ask that you continue to sustain and inspire them so they in turn can continue to inspire. And we pray that our graduates follow the wonderful example that they have set. Thank you for providing our graduates with wonderful parents, spouses, family, and friends whose support and sacrifices have enabled our graduates to reach this momentous milestone. We beseech you, Almighty God, to bless the graduates in all their endeavors. Teach them to appreciate and revere the divine spirit that animates each and every one of their patients, to provide not only expert medical advice, but compassionate care as well. Teach them to uphold the highest standards of ethics in their personal and professional lives, to be upright in the eyes of God and man. Teach them humility. May they glean wisdom and guidance from their teachers and mentors, from their patients and colleagues. And help them to never tire of the great mission and purpose to which they have devoted their professional lives, to help and to heal. May they live by the sage's dictum that all who save a single life are considered to have saved an entire world. Always sustain them and assist them in the performance of their sacred work. And let us say, Amen.
I have the mask, don't worry. Please be seated. President Ozawa, President Berman, Dean Tomaselli, members of the class of 2021, their family, friends, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, alumni, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this wonderful occasion as we celebrate the commencement and the 50th anniversary of our 13th graduating MD class. As my first duty, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the distinguished President and CEO of Montefiore Medicine, Dr. Philip Ozawa. Dr. Ozawa comes off the most difficult year in his professional life, having made hundreds of decisions that saved thousands of lives. He did so with the realization that there were actually two pandemics going on simultaneous, one caused by the COVID virus, and one being systemic racism that creates inequalities that limit access to proper health care and makes the poor and people of color more likely to die of the virus. Dr. Ozawa heroically led his battalion of Montefiore Einstein physicians, nurses, and other healthcare workers in the war against COVID. He saved thousands, but at great cost. 28 of our people succumbed to the disease due to their efforts to save the lives of their patients. Let us take a moment to remember their ultimate sacrifice. Dr. Ozawa.
No. Everything means something, and coincidences can be little clues to our destiny. You know, in 1948, when Dr. Samuel Belkin, president of Yeshiva University, conceived of the notion of a medical school, he turned for help to Dr. Harry Zimmerman, an eminent neuropathologist at Montefiore Hospital. And on a cold, bitter, gray day on January 4th of 1953, it was Dr. Harry Zimmerman who led a delegation to 102 Mercer Street in Princeton, New Jersey, the home of Professor Albert Einstein. Zimmerman wrote, after the briefest interval, and just within what I judge to be the bounds of propriety, I stated the purpose of our mission: to obtain his permission to name the school after him. Zimmerman made his case. Einstein was unimpressed, and he said no. Dr. Zimmerman then said, okay, no problem, sir. We'll call it the Joseph Goldberger Medical School. Einstein asked, who is that? To which Zimmerman responded, that is exactly the point. No one, sir, will ever ask me who is Albert Einstein. Einstein's eyes twinkled and he softened. "All right, you may use my name," he said. "But first tell me, did you say you were a doctor or a lawyer?" And this is how it came about that our school is named the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Dr. Einstein demanded only one condition for the use of his name: that the school welcome students of all creeds and races. This was at a time when the hopes and dreams of so many were often derailed and extinguished by the quotas and the blacklists of the few. Everything means something. In 1966, Einstein Medical School built its own brand new hospital, the Einstein Hospital, right here. Right there, actually. But 2 years later, Einstein asked Montefiore to please take over the hospital because of the financial difficulties involved. 47 years later, in a historic agreement with Yeshiva University, Montefiore also agreed to assume financial responsibility for the Einstein Medical School itself. Everything means something. Seated behind me are the board chair of Montefiore Medicine, Mr. Dan Tishman, the Einstein board chair, Dr. Ruth Gottesman, and my good friend, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, president of Yeshiva University. And in the splendor of this gorgeous spring day, I say that we have made a commitment to keep Einstein great and even greater for years and years to come. The history of Einstein and the history of Montefiore are deeply interwoven, and their future is forever linked. Speaking of Montefiore, on March 10th of last year, a 57-year-old gentleman walks into Montefiore Hospital. A financial industry executive, he's married with 2 grown daughters who live nearby. He complains of fever and a cough. Very rapidly, his lungs fail, his kidneys fail. He can no longer breathe on his own. We throw everything we have at him in a bid to save his life. He was our first patient with COVID-19, but he was not our only patient, just the first. 2 weeks later, we had 2,000. And the war had begun. The world shut down, and you, the class of 2021, both MD and PhD students, stood up, set aside your own personal safety, and assisted in the battle to save tens of thousands of lives, including the life of that very first patient of our own that I mentioned with COVID-19. It turns out that that first patient is a graduate of Yeshiva University. Coincidences may be little clues that point to our destiny. And so the class of 2021, the world remains a turbulent place, but we place our hopes in you. And we look to you to continue the mission and the tradition of this medical school, to use your gifts and skills to illume and enrich the world, to bear our name with pride and nobility, to touch the lives of others with compassion and humility, and to lead us into the future with excellence and humanity.
We are using the graduation to put this narrative in context and to also give you an example as to why people should exchange notes, as you'll see in a moment. At this point, I'm honored to introduce Dr. Ari Berman, president of Yeshiva University. In September of 1955, as Dr. Oswa suggested, Yeshiva University opened its doors at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, welcoming its first class committed to scientific excellence, compassionate training, and non-discrimination. That made Yeshiva's medical school unique among American medical schools and explains why the century's greatest scientist and humanist gave permission to use his name for our medical school. In September 2015, 60 years later, operational control of Einstein was transferred to our long-term clinical partner, Montefiore, who first joined with Einstein in physician training and social justice back in 1963. Einstein remains an affiliate of Yeshiva with important ties in education, but is operationally responsible to Montefiore. And if this sounds somewhat confusing, I'm happy to spend 3 to 4 hours with you explaining this after graduation, including my dear friends here. Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman is the 5th president of Yeshiva University, and he began his tenure in June of 2017. On June 8th, his second day on the job, Dr. Berman paid a visit to Einstein, meeting with the dean and me, along with several research faculty. He then went from here to Montefiore, meeting with their leadership to cement an everlasting bond among these 3 great institutions that will continue permanently, irrespective of ownership and management. He then spoke eloquently and inspirationally about that bond at his formal investiture 3 months later. President Berman, please come forward.
Thank you, Dr. Burns, for your words of introduction and your enduring leadership of our Einstein community. To my dear friend and partner, Dr. Phil Oswa. Who doesn't love Phil Oswa? It is always a blessing to be in your presence, along with the great leadership of Montefiore as represented by the chair, Dan Tishman. My dear beloved friend, the chair of Einstein, Dr. Ruth Gottesman. It's always wonderful to be with you. And of course, our excellent dean, Gordon Tomaselli. You can applaud Gordon Tomaselli. So amazing to be here amongst our honored guests and alumni, to hear our speaker, Dr. David Kessler. A special shout out to all of the supportive parents, spouses, family, and friends in the neighboring tents. To all your amazing professors and faculty. And most especially to our students, to the class of 2021, congratulations! You did it! You endured a year like no other. You have socially distanced, masked, and been regularly tested. You have lived at home, in dorm rooms, and in Zoom rooms. Every year, graduation is special, but this year is different. It is different because in a year defined by distance and being virtual, we come together today live and in person. But this graduation is not just special because we're in person. It's special because it represents something bigger. You represent something bigger. You represent hope. And let me tell you why. Think back to the beginning of this year filled with uncertainty. None of us had the map that told us how this year would unfold. Or think back even earlier to the days when you began as a student at Einstein. Could you ever have imagined a world that would look like it does today? But while none of us had the map, we did have the compass. For your values are our compass. And even during deep times of uncertainty, they give us confidence that we're moving in the right direction. My dear students, you have gained incredible expertise and depth and understanding in science like few others in the world. You've not only expanded your scientific knowledge, you've expanded scientific knowledge through your trailblazing research and studies. But what you've gained at Einstein is even more. The values, the ethics, the caring, and the kindness. You do not only seek to cure disease, but to bring healing to the world. And this will serve you well in your future. We each do not know the exact arc of our individual stories. What fate and what decisions await you in your lives? But we do know that you have the compass. It will guide you at times of uncertainty, and it will guide you throughout your lives. And with your values as your compass, you have the tools to reach your destiny and become the person you were meant to be. And this is crucial, not just for your future, but for the future of our society at large. Who will be the medical leaders of the future? Who will find the next vaccines, tend to the ill, care for our elderly, and inform public policy? Who will both stand on the cutting edge of discovery while standing for the timeless values of human compassion? It is you, our Einstein graduates. You are the leaders of tomorrow. You are the hope that we have been waiting for. And I speak to you today, not just as a president of a grateful university, but as someone who has personally experienced what I speak of at this moment. Last year, around this time, my father-in-law was diagnosed with an incurable rare form of cancer. Now, one can imagine, both physically and psychologically, how challenging this year has been, especially with the effects and dangers of the pandemic all around him. But while it was a difficult year, it was also a special year. I would say even holy, for our family to spend this time together with him. Every day we have with him is a blessing. And what enabled him to live throughout this year is the incredible care that he received from Montefiore and Einstein. His doctors, including Dr. Shalom Kalinicki, chairman of radiation oncology at Montefiore and professor at Einstein, Dr. Benjamin Gartrell, a director here at Montefiore and assistant professor of oncology and neurology at Einstein, and our beloved Dr. Ed Burns. Not only a lead in the field at the cutting edge of research, but also with compassion, kindness, and profound human insight. Throughout this time, we always knew that we were in excellent hands. They brought such comfort to us. They gave us the gift of this year. My father-in-law is currently in hospice care. God should continue to grant him quality of life. But we would not be here if not for Montefiore and Einstein. And for that, I will always be thankful. And this represents to you, my dear students, the unique role that you play in this world. And this is my blessing to you. May God bless you with good fortune and happiness. May you find joy in your life, love in your heart, and purpose in all that you do. I have been inspired seeing how you've handled this chapter in your life, which gives me profound confidence in the way that you will write yourselves into the next chapter of the great story of humanity. You are our hope. You are our future. And that is why we're so joyous here today, because we know that this is just the beginning of wonderful things to come. Congratulations.
It is now my privilege to introduce the Marilyn and Stanley Katz Dean of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Dr. Gordon F. Tomaselli. In this same pandemic year, Dr. Tomaselli ignited the imaginations of our Einstein faculty to develop new treatments for COVID-19. It was the ultimate blending of the basic scientists and the clinicians to create successful therapeutics. His compassion for the victims spread among the student body, inspiring dozens of our students to volunteer to suit up and go to the front lines to help. And the research that bore the fruit, and the students learned life lessons that they will carry with them for their entire lives. Dr. Tomaselli.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. What a spectacular day. It's hard to imagine. It's been over a year since we've been together. But what a great day and what a great occasion to reconvene. I want to thank not only Dr. Burns, but Dr. Oswa, Dr. Berman, Dr. Gottesman, Mr. Tishman, our great faculty for being here with us today. And of course, congratulations to my fellow alumni, the class of 2021 of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Give yourselves a hand. As a proud member of the class of 1982, I am overjoyed to welcome you to our ranks. You've successfully fulfilled all of the requirements to earn your doctoral degrees, but you've done so much more. The past year and a half have been unanticipated, and I won't say disrupted, but altered the course of your medical and scientific educations. Last year, I congratulated the class of 2020 virtually when we were immersed in the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, a year later, we seem to be truly emerging, but at an enormous cost of lives. Over 33 million people infected. Almost 600,000 died in the United States alone. This was and still is a uniquely challenging moment in medical and human history. Your lives and education were in a constant state of flux, and you handled this with grace and determination. You gave tens of thousands of hours of time volunteering in support of our community, frontline care providers, our patients, doing everything from telehealth to 3D printing PPE to running PCR machines for testing and joining the healthcare workforce when it became appropriate. Your spirit continues and has grown, and some of you have been administering vaccines and others counseling those who might be hesitant about being vaccinated, all while getting back to the work of continuing your education. You rose to the challenge. You rose to the occasion in this extraordinarily challenging time to become even better physicians, but more importantly, even better people. I truly marvel and applaud your resilience. I'm immensely proud of your sense of community and purpose, selflessness, and courage in the face of the unknown, and the compassion with which you've provided care to your patients and your colleagues. This has occurred at a very tumultuous time in the history of our nation and the world. The pandemic brought to the fore not only the danger of an infectious disease in a connected world, but the pain and suffering of the social pandemic of structural racism that afflicts not only our nation, but too many parts of the world. The pain and trauma caused by racism in all its institutional forms and individual manifestations has damaged and destroyed the lives of too many people of color for far too long. Many of us cannot directly experience the pain of those in our minority communities. However, we can harness our outrage to be part of the solution. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, let's refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. So I've mentioned to this class and to others in previous comments that medicine and biomedical sciences is an exceptionally rewarding career. And I said that I wasn't certain what it would be, but you'll have a front row seat to transformative changes in science that will not only impact human health, but the human condition generally. For you, the class of 2021, this prediction came true during your medical education. And trust me, it will not be the only transformational change in medicine that you'll experience in your career, but you will carry this experience with you for the rest of your lives. And as I look out on the class of 2021, I'm reminded that a crisis doesn't make you, but reveals who you are. So to all of you, be proud of that revelation. On behalf of the entire faculty and staff at the College of Medicine, our best wishes as you become one of the more than 9,000 alumni and embark on the next phase of a fulfilling and exciting professional journey representing Einstein with distinction wherever you go. Congratulations again. So at this year's commencement, I'm very pleased to congratulate our pioneering 50th anniversary class, the 13th graduating class of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. A graduate of that groundbreaking class, Dr. Miriam Levitt, will represent the class of 1971. Dr. Levitt, please join me on stage.
Good afternoon, and congratulations to the members of the class of 2021 on your graduation from Einstein. My name is Miriam Levitt, and I am in pediatric practice in Bronxville, New York. I'm a member of the class of 1971, which was only the 13th year of this college's existence. But my own history starts a little before that, in Europe, right after World War II, when my mother, whose family had lived in Poland for 200 years, returned to her home there after surviving as an armed partisan. At that time, her neighbors threatened to kill her. She and my father, a survivor of the 10th Lithuanian Rifles, then made a daring escape through Germany, hidden under a mail truck. I was born somewhere on the road to the American sector, and we spent several years in a displaced persons camp before being accepted as immigrants to the USA. I first saw the Statue of Liberty from the deck of a US Marine troop ship. I didn't speak English until I was 5. But living in the Bronx, I grew up near Jacobi Hospital, and I worked at Van Etten when I was about 14, filing X-ray reports, and later assisting with electron microscopy in Dr. Robert Terry's neuropathology lab, going on to be a student at Einstein, and then a resident and a junior attending at Montefiore. My husband and I raised our 3 children in the suburban community of Scarsdale, and in gratitude for this, I accepted a call to public service, becoming the fire commissioner, the police commissioner, and also being elected the mayor of Scarsdale, all the while maintaining my pediatric practice in nearby Bronxville, where I was the chief of pediatrics of our local 250-bed hospital, and I am the medical director of the school district. I have never given up on the people of the Bronx, and I still continue to serve on the Monty staff as a voluntary physician. Not so long ago, physicians were viewed with great respect in their communities. But what has happened? Now, communities don't understand what we stand for. We continue to dedicate our lives to others, despite major changes in our status in corporate structures. The most important question that you, as the most recent graduates just starting out, should ask me is, would you do it all over again? And I will say, there would never be enough money or corporate power to keep me from doing it again. Throughout my life, I was able to fight for what I believed in, and I won. Just a while ago in my office, I saw a young girl whose mother had been my patient. The girl was brought in by her grandmother because her mother had died of complications of HPV disease. That day, when I immunized the girl against HPV, I actually cried. Yesterday, I gave 38 doses of COVID-19 vaccine to children ages 12 and up. The vaccine is now available in my office, barely a year and a half since the onset of the epidemic. And will this continue? When I started in practice, I had colleagues who remembered the introduction of penicillin in 1943. When I first studied genetics in high school, we weren't sure how many chromosomes there actually were. And now, one of my doctor's sons, a reproductive REI specialist, uses advanced genetic technique at work every day. Never lose sight of the reason that you have embarked upon this difficult journey. You must fight back against the powerful structural systems that are aiming to divert you. And take your inspiration from the words of Hillel. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am only for myself, what am I? If not now, when? Don't forget the first one. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Levitt. It's a tradition at Einstein to present alumni awards and teaching awards to our faculty that have been chosen by our students. First, we'll present the alumni awards. It's my honor to welcome Dr. J.M. Feingold, President of the Alumni Association of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, who will say a few words and present our alumni awards. Dr. Feingold.
Thank you, Dean Tomaselli. The College of Medicine and the Alumni Association are pleased to continue a proud tradition of awarding some of our alumni and honorary alumnus each year awards to acknowledge what they've done during their careers. The 2021 Dominic P. Perper recipient is Dr. Stuart Schumann, Einstein class of 1983. Dr. Schumann's not here, but we congratulate you on your well-deserved recognition. The 2021 recipient of the Distinguished PhD Alumni Award is Dr. Mary O'Connell, class of 1987, and the fellow graduate of the laboratory of Dr. Lucille Shapiro. Dr. O'Connell is in the Czech Republic, so she's not with us today, but please join me in congratulating Dr. O'Connell on this honor. The recipient of the 2021 Distinguished Alumnus Clinical Practitioner Award is Lori Markowitz. Dr. Markowitz could not be here today, but let's please congratulate her on this well-deserved honor. It is an absolute privilege and honor to announce the Alumni Association's Lifetime Achievement Award. Is the recipient Dr. Joyce Lowenson, the Einstein class of 1962. Again, Dr. Lowenson is not able to be with us here today, but please join me in congratulating her on this well-deserved honor. The recipient of the Alumni Association Lifetime Service Award is Dr. Miriam Tassini, the Einstein class of 1971. Apologies. Congratulations, Dr. Tassini, who is also not able to be with us today. I'd now like to ask Dr. Hugh Basis, class of 94, to please join me on stage to make the next presentation. It is a personal great pleasure to present the next award to Dr. Robert Basis, the 2021 Honorary Alumnus Award recipient. Dr. Basis has been on the faculty at Einstein for more than 55 years. This year, the Einstein Alumni Association added 2 new awards in order to acknowledge the work of some of the younger graduates of the school. It is with great pleasure I present the inaugural Rising Star Clinical Practitioner Award to Dr. Utebi Essien, class of 2013. Dr. Essien, please come to the lectern. The recipient of the inaugural Rising Star Scientific Investigator Award is Dr. Obiemi Olabisi, class of 2009. Dr. Olabisi, please come to the lectern. It's now my honor and pleasure to present the Saul R. Corey Award in Translational Science and Medicine to Dr. Betsy Harold. Will Dr. Harold please join us on stage?
So now we have our commencement address, and we're honored to have Dr. David Kessler as our commencement speaker today. He currently serves as the Chief Science Officer of the White House COVID-19 response team, leading the response to the pandemic. He previously served as Commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration under Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton. In that position, he initiated the agency's first regulation of the tobacco industry and accelerated the approvals of much-needed drugs, including antivirals, that were used to treat HIV/AIDS. Trained as a pediatrician and a lawyer with degrees from Harvard Medical School and the University of Chicago Law School, he also served as both the Dean of the Yale School of Medicine and UCSF School of Medicine. But before he held any of those positions, I'm proud to say he was the medical director at the Jack D. Weiler Hospital on the Einstein campus. As you can tell, Dr. Kessler is in a unique position to address you today, speaking from his experience as a member of our community and as a leader in academia and public health during his illustrious career. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kessler.
I am here today to give you a shot in the arm. I've been doing a lot of that recently. To date, we have delivered 350 million doses and have administered close to 300 million vaccines. Last March, I was called in by now President Biden to advise him on the epidemic. Almost every day, we briefed him on where the epidemic was headed. At one point, when the number of deaths kept increasing, I remember saying to him, "Mr. Vice President, I'll make you a deal. You get elected president, we'll get the country a vaccine." I'll admit there were times when I was shaken. When I was first named medical director of the Weiler Hospital, there was no emergency department. We relied on Jacobi Hospital. So when I saw images of the Weiler ER as a hot zone, it had a visceral effect on me. I still remember Nick Kristof writing about all of you who served there. The truth, he said, is that the doctors too are frightened and exhausted, overwhelmed by death and their own helplessness. You learned more about medicine this last year than many doctors learn in a lifetime. We will never be the same. I applaud what you have done, and I know it has shaped what kind of doctors you are going to be. You set out years ago to do something, and you did it. You stayed the course. Being proud on a day like today is no sin, and it isn't vanity. It is a right you and your families have earned. I'd like for a moment to turn back the clock, not just to the last year. I'd like you all to think back to that time when you made your final non-refundable decision about medicine or science as a profession. I'd like you to think about what motivated you then, what urged you in making the choice. If you were like most of us, you wanted to be a doctor or a scientist because you wanted to make a difference in people's lives. You wanted to do some good in the world, and you were able to say those words flat out without any embarrassment or hesitation. I want to do some good. It wasn't because of the social prestige that comes with a medical degree, and it wasn't because of the big money that everyone talked about. It wasn't because of the chance to play God or the chance to play golf. It wasn't even because your mother or your father was a doctor and the career had been planned for you from birth. Not really. Young people don't think that way or feel that way or talk that way. You are still young enough to have dreams. You are still young enough to wear your hearts on your sleeves, and you can say without embarrassment that you simply want to do some good. This epidemic has taken an immense toll. It can scar the gloss on young ideals. It can dim the gleam of youthful goals. It can distance you from innocence. The forces that can cause such a shift in values vary with the individual: financial, emotional, Familial forces work on all of us, and you would be less than human if they did not work on you. By the time a person reaches my age, he is supposed to have lost the urgency of ideals. Reality is supposed to have dulled the sharp edge of his resolution. He is supposed to be ready to accept second best. You need not be afraid of the word ideals. You need only go through life with a dream in one hand and a compass in the other, just in case the dream goes astray. Let's face it, we have encouraged a practice of medicine that is very much a profession, maybe too little a vocation, too little a calling. For a doctor does not become a healer by virtue of a medical degree. You are a healer if the identifiable purpose of your life is forever bound up with the relief of suffering, with the forestalling of death, and the creation of conditions that are conducive to a more flourishing existence for your patient. You are a healer if the relationship between you and your patient is a covenant of faith, not a business contract, an article of trust, not an exchange of services. You are a healer if you are willing to heal without payment. You are a healer when both you and your patient come to understand that there are no miracles in the healing process, that healing is hard work and not a mystical laying on of hands. You are a healer if before you use a drug, device, or implant, you know the consequences of your actions. You are a healer when you understand that the amount of health that you can actually promote is relatively small when weighed on the scale of human mortality. You are a healer when you throw away that scale and fight for every inch of health against the odds, as if immortality were embedded in your fingertips. And you are a healer if you know when it's time to quit. These are the healers that our profession cries out for, men and women who are willing to labor in the trenches, who are willing to treat all patients equally under the oath, who are willing to touch what others see as untouchable, who are willing to sign up for nothing less than the Churchillian promise of blood, toil, sweat, and tears, in return for nothing more than the privilege of healing and saving. Let me talk for a moment to those who earn the ultimate doctorate, the graduate students. Let me assure you that both the laboratory and the classroom have their own set of healers. And someday when you apply for a research grant, you will find that the American people, through their Congress, do not fund research because of academic brilliance. They fund it because of the healing that they hope will come out of it, because the people of this nation know something about us that we ourselves often forget. That doctors and scientists are made in medical and graduate schools, but healers are made in the quiet conviction of the conscience. For there is all the world of difference between members of the medical and scientific professions and doctors and researchers with a calling. A profession is something you train to do. A profession is something that you can change. A profession is something that you are likely to find rather routine in later years. A calling, on the other hand, is something that captures you, entrances you, and keeps you enchanted for the rest of your life. I am confident that all of you have distinguished futures, some as clinicians, some as researchers, some as teachers, some as all three. But the essence of medicine will be preserved by the healers among you, by those of you for whom medicine is a calling. It is that way in every generation. For if we ever lose the healers, we lose everything. If we lose those few, then medicine will soon be practiced by diagnostic machines wearing expensive suits. We tend to forget that as physicians, we often see people in uncommonly philosophical moments at a time when the patient may be deeply reflective and introspective. What brings someone to a doctor or to a hospital is often a condition that triggers a set of philosophical considerations for the first time in the patient's life. We are not out of this epidemic yet. There are still many people who are not getting vaccinated. There are many reasons for this. But let's face it, one of the reasons is simply fear. Fear of the potential side effects, fear of the unknown. We will get this country vaccinated. But through your careers, you will always be confronting that fear in some way. Fear of the unknown, fear of the unbelievable, fear for the fate of the loved ones left behind. For some, it is the nearness of death. For others, a turning point after which life itself will never be the same. Mortality to many means failure, the failure of a life that was never fully lived, the failure of goals that were never attained, the fleeting passage of youth, the sour resignation of age, and always the aching question, why does it have to be this way? Failure and fear, in equal doses, combining to produce a philosophical frame of mind that must be touched and treated by you. For if the doctor is unaware that the malady has triggered a set of considerations that run deeper than the malady itself, if the doctor can respond only to matters that are medical while the patient is concerned with the meaning of the cosmos, then the function of the physician or scientist has been compromised, perhaps beyond repair. Our mission, your mission, is to perform our work in such a fashion that those who come within the embrace of our influence will leave that embrace for a life that is a little bit finer and more flourishing than it was before. Horace Mann, the educator, once said, "You should be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity." That victory may come at the bedside. That victory may come in the laboratory. That victory may come by affecting the health of the entire nation. But that victory will only come because you have prepared all your lives for those challenges. That victory will come if you are willing to ask the right questions. That victory will only come if you make a total commitment to whatever you are doing. We can start looking past this pandemic. The great thing, even with all the tragedies, is that we live in a world in which your spirits will soar with the kind of joy you can only imagine now, whenever you win a life. And it will tumble just as far into sadness when you lose one. It is a world in which cynicism is as much the enemy as disease, a world in which your finest friends are the values you believe in and are willing to fight for. It is a world of uncertainties in the peculiar way that medicine can be uncertain. It is a world of verities, but no sureties, of guidelines, but no guarantees, of pounding pressures and infinite horizons. I welcome you to it, and I wish you well. I wish you the strength to survive the losses and the wisdom to keep the triumphs in perspectives. I wish you mornings of great promise, evenings of pleasant weariness, and nights filled with the sleep that comes to those who have done their best. I wish you the future. And once again, I ask you to look at the past. Look back at yourselves as you were when you made that final decision for medicine. Fix that picture in your mind. Look at yourselves as you are now, and then look at yourselves as you hope you will be in the future. Will you be a healer? Do you have a calling? What will you say when the future is past and the time comes to sum it all up? The most fortunate among you will be able to say, I occupied some space on earth and I did some good. I was a healer. I made a difference. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Kessler. We will now present the Student Teaching Awards, and it's my pleasure to invite Dr. Joshua Nasanchuk, Senior Associate Dean for Medical Education, who will present the Teaching Awards.
The Samuel M. Rosen Awards for Outstanding Teaching are presented to members of the faculty chosen by the students. The awards are intended to be a reminder for all of us of our beloved teachers' legacies to our institution. This year, the Samuel M. Rosen Award for Outstanding Teaching in the Pre-Clerkship Curriculum is awarded to Dr. Amanda P. Beck, Dr. Beck, please join us on stage. The Samuel M. Rosen Award for Outstanding Teaching in the Clinical Curriculum is awarded to Dr. Stephen Lee. Dr. Lee, please join us on stage to accept this award. Two additional awards for excellence in teaching have been established, and they are named for two legendary figures in the medical school's history, Dr. Harry Eagle and Dr. Harry Gordon. The 2021 recipient of the Harry Eagle Award for Outstanding Pre-Clerkship Teaching is awarded to Dr. Priti Mishal. Dr. Mishal, please join us on stage in order to receive the recognition of your peers. The 2021 recipient of the Harry H. Gordon Award for Outstanding Clinical Teaching is awarded to Dr. Jamie B. Rosenberg, Einstein class of 2005. Dr. Rosenberg, please join us on stage in order to receive the recognition from your peers. This year, it is truly a privilege and an honor to present the Lifetime Achievement Award for Excellence in Teaching to Dr. Sherry Downey. Dr. Downey, please join us on stage to receive the recognition of your peers and our graduates. Thank you again, Dr. Downey. The LaDon H. Schulman Award for Excellence in Teaching will now be presented. The award, which has been established in 1993, honors the memory of Dr. LaDon H. Schulman, who was a professor of developmental biology and cancer, which is now developmental and molecular biology, from 1968 until her untimely passing in 1992. It recognizes a faculty member of the graduate division who has demonstrated exemplary skill in teaching. The 2021 recipient of the LaDon H. Schulman Award for Excellence in Teaching is Dr. Julie Seacombe. Dr. Seacombe, please join us on stage.
I'm pleased to be able to announce the awarding of the diplomas from the Belfer Institute for Advanced Biomedical Studies to postgraduate research trainees who this month complete their training programs at the college. The Master of Science in Clinical Research Methods degree is being awarded to 16 scholars this year. They received their education under an NIH-funded program to support clinical and translational science, an enterprise vitally important to our nation's health and to which Einstein is making significant contributions. In addition, we're proud of our graduates in the Master of Science in Bioethics program. This Einstein-Cardozo joint degree program is being awarded to 6 students. President Oswa, it is my privilege, on behalf of the faculty of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine and the Einstein graduate programs in the biomedical sciences, to present to you 173 candidates for the degree Doctor of Medicine and 25 candidates for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, 11 of whom are also receiving an MD degree today. That brings the total number of graduates to 9,266 doctors of medicine, 1,715 doctors of philosophy, and many of them are here today. What greater tribute can we pay than to present this group of young people educated in consonance with your own high standards of excellence to devote themselves to the improvement of the health of people as healer, research scientists, and teachers. The Einstein graduate programs in the biomedical sciences was established in 1957 to provide opportunities for advanced study and research training in the life sciences leading to the PhD degree. We will now begin the conferring of the degrees of the graduate school. Will Dr. Victoria H. Friedman, Associate Dean of Graduate Programs in Biomedical Sciences, please lead the oath of scientists? Dr. Friedman.
Will the PhD graduates please rise at this time? Throughout history, science has been used for good or for evil. Particularly in our time, it is incumbent upon us to affirm our commitment to use science for the benefit of all. Therefore, I ask you to repeat the following affirmation after me. As I embark on my career as a biomedical scientist, I will strive to incorporate into my research and my professional life the goals and moral principles required for the behavior of a true scientist. I therefore pledge to recognize and respect without bias the contributions of scientists who preceded me and of fellow scientists and students. To be open to new ideas regardless of my perspective. To commit to work with the highest standards of academic honesty, scientific integrity, and ethical practice. To use my training and creativity to seek and disseminate truth. And to use my knowledge to assist others. Thereby advancing the progress of biomedical science to benefit all humanity. Please remain standing.
Dr. Philip Ozawa, will you please join me as we begin the formal graduation process of our PhD students? The candidates standing before you have satisfactorily completed the requirements for the Doctor of Philosophy degree. They are recommended for the degree by the doctoral committee, by the dean, and by the chairperson of the department in which they pursued their studies and research. It is my privilege, therefore, to present them to you for that degree.
You have completed the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, as prescribed by the faculty of the Einstein graduate programs in the biomedical sciences. By virtue of the authority vested in me, I hereby confer you to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy with all the rights, privileges, and obligations appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, you will receive a diploma signed by the duly authorized officers bearing its official seal and have placed over your shoulders the visible symbol of this degree, the doctoral hood of philosophy. Congratulations.
Will the candidates please remove their TAMs as they approach the stage? I'm supposed to ask you to refrain from applauding, but that never works. Dr. Friedman, will you please consent to be present and present the PhD candidates?
Yes. Will Dr. David Sharp, Dr. Miles Akabas, Dr. Nicholas Baker, and Dr. Daniel Weiser please come to the hooding area? Okay, we are ready. Are you ready? Liza Baker. Miriam Ben Dayan. Jitayu Biswas. Raven Diaku. Samuel Day Dowling. Virginia Folgado Marco. Basha Galinsky. Okay. You may hood the students. Okay. Will Dr. Andras Fisher, Dr. William Jacobs, Dr. Arthur Sculci, and Dr. Labusha Kelly please come to the hooding area? Okay. Nelson Omero Gill. Eric James Hassanor. Sean Edward Hilton. Reese Hitchings. Slow down. Okay. Okay, will Dr. Miles Akabis, Dr. Streamson Chua, Dr. Evripidis Gavatiotis, please come to the hooding area. Okay. Vuta Huggenbaum. Ruth Ann Howe. Niloy Jafar Iqbal. Andrea Lopez Arroyo. Albert Lowe. Will Dr. Miles Akabis, Dr. Betsy Harold, Dr. Michael Lipton, Dr. Jonathan Backer, and Dr. Ann Bresnick please come to the hooding area? Elise Venetia Mike. Hannah Monday. Nicholas Morano. Morgan Porch. Natalie Lisa Margaret Ramsey. Todd Rubin. Gilbert Caesar Saloom. Will Dr. Kartik Chandran and Dr. Miles Akabis come to the hooding area? Megan Slough. Yvette Sosa. Congratulations to our PhD graduates 2021. At this time, we would like to take a moment to recognize our graduate mentors who play such an important role in the education of our PhD students. And you will see the slide on the screen. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Friedman. The physician bears an awesome responsibility, confronting issues of life and death. It's been the custom before admitting a student to the privilege of the medical degree that the student take a solemn oath that acquired knowledge be used with wisdom and compassion for the benefit of society. The oath, known as the Declaration of Geneva, was adopted by the World Medical Association in 1948. Unlike the traditional oath of Hippocrates, it exacts a pledge from each future physician not to use his or her medical knowledge to further the crime of genocide or other human abuses. At this time, I would like to ask the alumni of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine to join a tradition at our graduation ceremonies. I would like to ask all of our alumni to please reaffirm the vows that you have already taken while we administer the oath to our graduates for the first time. Will the MD candidates, and please all of the alumni watching, rise to receive the oath? I solemnly pledge myself to consecrate my life to the service of humanity. I will give to my teachers the respect and gratitude which is their due. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity. The health of my patients will be my first consideration. I will respect the secrets which are confided in me even after the patient has died. I will maintain, by all means in my power, the honor and the noble traditions of the medical profession. My colleagues will be my sisters and brothers. I will not permit considerations of age, disease, or disability. Creed, ethnic origin, gender, nationality, political affiliation, race, sexual orientation, or social standing. to intervene between my duty and my patients. I will maintain the utmost respect for human life from its beginning, even under threat. And I will not use my medical knowledge contrary to the laws of humanity. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Will you please join me, President Oswa? President Oswa, our students have just taken the pledge to consecrate their lives to the service of humanity. They have completed, to the satisfaction of the faculty, the course of study leading to the degree of Doctor of Medicine, and I have the privilege of presenting them for the degree.
You have completed the requirements for the degree of Doctor of Medicine as prescribed by the faculty of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine. By virtue of the authority vested in me as President of Montefiore Medicine, I hereby admit you to the degree of Doctor of Medicine, with all the rights, privileges, and obligations appertaining thereto. In witness thereof, each one of you will receive a diploma bearing the official seal of Einstein and have placed over your shoulders the visible symbol of this degree, the doctoral hood of medicine. Congratulations.
Congratulations indeed. Dr. Stephen G. Baum, Senior Advisor for the Office of Student Affairs, Dr. Allison B. Ludwig, Associate Dean for Student Affairs, and Dr. Mimosa Mahole, Assistant Dean for Student Affairs, will now present the MD candidates.
The rest of you may all be seated. So at this time each year, the three of us like to remind or mention to the parents and families of the assembled graduates the fact that we do our best to pronounce everyone's name correctly. In fact, we have spent as much time studying name pronunciation as the students have spent taking their board exams.
Will Dr. Neris Benfield, Dr. Todd Cassis, Dr. Ruth Gottesman, and Mr. Daniel Tishman please join us in the hooding area? Aravind Adapalli. Shelby Adler. Nadira Ahmed. Sadia Ahmed. Jack Albukai. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Miriam Zeman. Ariel Zev Allen. Stephanie Angel Allen. Carla Leandra Anderson. Mihai Ovidiu Florine Andreka. Ian Armstrong. Kayla Babish. Daniel Enrique Barbodo. Emily Barry. Joshua Benton. Samrai Bashaw. Jiteu Biswas. Anna Catherine Bittners. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Richard Blansky. Deanna Troy Blansky. Abraham Borden. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Joan Bregstein. Shayna Ruth Burstein.
Alexander Ellis Kassler. Albin Sella. Jason Chan. Emily Chase. Shambit Roy Chaudhary. Eric Ciccone. Sarah Chung. Sarah Ciccarelli. Edward Colombo. Evan Dekowski. Kevin Christian Dolan. Joe Dardick. Will Dr. Irene Blanco, Ms. Catherine Clemma, Mr. Christopher Panzer, Dr. Harry Shamoon, please join us in the hooding area. Florangel de Leon Rodriguez. Matthew Salvatore DeMasi. Alana Rose Deutsch. Caitlin Elizabeth DeWilde. Ananth Dingra. Raven Diaku. Frank Andrea Terreno. Yuchen Dong.
Ethan Doshi. Samuel Day Dowling. Sean Dowling. Daniel Edelman. Rachel Marta Eklund. Nabi Castellano Farah. Galila Flato. Henry Foster. Margot Garden. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Eric Applebaum and Dr. Sandra Applebaum. Ariella Gartenberg. Wait, one more. Eden Gelman. Samantha Susan George. Nelson Omero Gill. Jason Sean Gilbert. Tova Goldstein. Matthew Gosen. David Grand. Nicholas Greege. Menachem Mendel Grodin. Mitchell Gronowitz.
Will Dr. Nadine Katz, Mr. Andrew Lauer, Dr. Catherine Skay, and Dr. Howard Steinman please join us in the hooding area? Adam Haynes. Eric James Hassenerl. Sean Edward Healton. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Arlene Rosenberg Hennick. Stephen Maxwell Hennick. Tara Estelle Herrera. Courtney Lee Horton. Maruf Hossein. Ruth Ann Howe. Christina Huang. Sheheryar Ilyas. Niloy Jafar Iqbal. Kiwa Jiang. Erin Joe. Simon James Johnson. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Leonid Karpanos. Joseph Edward Karpanos. Alexander Kurtzner. Ushna Khan. Ahmed Kokar. Clementine Atwood Knight. Adam Kopp.
The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Alan Kravitz. Merrill Beth Kravitz. Lisa Kremen. Norbert David Cook. Alice Kwan. Dana Lisa Lakram. Brianna Lally. Max Lee. Avinoam Levin. Samantha Levine. Kevin Lincoln Lee. Wendy Lee. Christopher Lynn. Tiffany Lynn. Jinyuan Liu. Jay Lewick. Elizabeth Ann Lund. Will Dr. Harris Goldstein, Dr. Victor Hatcher, Dr. Rachel Katz and Dr. Mary Kelly please join us in the hooding area? Michael Ludmir. Joshua Mongerel. Amber Nicole Marsh. Jordan McCreary.
The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. J. Melman. Jonathan Wellman. Elise Venetia Mike. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Janice Bistritz. Rahel Shulamit Mirsky. Marjorie Morales. Michael Mosheyev. Evan Mustafa. Shion Sean Mottahead. Brandon Moy. Hassan Mukri. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Jeremy Nadelman. Emily Rose Nadelman. Michaelin Nguyen. Patrick O'Connor. Jennifer Onyebene. Amanda Pearl Orley. Veronica Ortiz. Jonathan Oxman. Seyun Sally Park. Janki Hitesh Patel. Nikunj Kirit Patel. Diana Perez.
The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Robert Plummer, Talia Melissa Plummer. Vidushi Abhay Purohit. Suraj Persnani. Alexander Perrineau. Xavier Hernandez Quesada. Madhumita Rajagopal. Natalie Lisa Margaret Ramsey. Judith Beryl Radcliffe. Abdulrahman Ramawi. Miguel Rodriguez. Max Chaim Rosberg. Maxwell Roth. Will Mr. Damian Jackson, Dr. Paul Morantz, Ms. Yvonne Ramirez, and Dr. Victor Schuster please join us in the hooding area? Todd Rubin. Lauren Leoba Gisela Sanchez. Omar Sanin. Emma Satterwaite Marishanu. Deborah Emily Schwartz. Richard Sekarak III. Tyler Morgan Selig. Nisha Shah.
Idar Zemirbekovich Shaildaev. Richa Sheth. Jennifer Shin. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Melvin Zalewski.
Elliot Shulman. Steve. Elliot Shulman.
Elliot Shulman. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Josefa Silber. David Silber. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. David Simon and Dr. Simone Simon. Rachel Beth Simon. Sabita Singh. Daniel Skaggs. Sophie Soval. Justin Song. Joseph Stoll. Brian Zeglin. Fareed Karim Tadros. Alice Tao. Ronnie Thomas. Wesley Clark Thorne. Rivka Nechama Thurm. Elena Viner. Akorsh Vijay Shankar. Cynthia Vlad.
Rachel Elizabeth Weinstock. Hava Welton. The following graduate will be hooded by Dr. Scott Wetzler. Joshua Wetzler. Kristen Janelle Williams. Michael Winter. Jonathan Wolnerman. Ryan Zinn. Jacqueline Malia Yamada. Jennifer Yao. David Yerushalmi. Rachel Zerner. Kevin J. Zhang. Dan Zhao.
It is Einstein's tradition at commencement to read the prayer of Maimonides. Moses Maimonides was one of history's most renowned physicians and rabbinic scholars. He lived and practiced in Egypt in the 1100s and was personal physician to the royal court of Saladin. In addition to his many rabbinic scholarly works, he wrote numerous medical books in his native Arabic. It is my pleasure to recite this prayer, which emphasizes the standards of excellence and the depth of commitment that Einstein seeks to instill in his students. Will the graduates please rise and remain standing till the completion of the prayer. Prayer of Maimonides. Inspire me with love for my art, for thy creatures. Do not allow thirst for profit, ambition for renown and admiration to interfere with my profession, for these are the enemies of truth, and they can lead astray in the great task of attending to the welfare of thy creatures. Preserve the strength of my body and of my soul, that they ever be ready to cheerfully help and support rich and poor, good and bad, enemy as well as friend. In the sufferer, let me see only the human being. Illumine my mind, that it recognize what presents itself, and that it may comprehend what is absent or hidden. Let us not fail to see what is visible. Let me never be absent-minded. May no strange thoughts divert my attention at the bedside of the sick. For great and sacred are the thoughtful deliberations required to preserve the lives and health of thy creatures. Should those who are wiser than I wish to improve and instruct me, let my soul gratefully follow their guidance, for vast is the extent of our art. Never allow the thought to arise in my head that I've attained sufficient knowledge, but vouchsafe to me the strength and the ambition ever to extend my knowledge. Almighty God, thou hast chosen me in thy mercy to watch over the life and death of thy creatures. I now apply myself to my profession. Support me in this great task so that it may benefit mankind, for without thy help, not even the least thing will succeed. Students, we want to share an important and symbolic moment. If your tam is not on, please find it and put it on. When we count down, you are going to take your tassel and turn it from the right side of the tam to the left to signify your achievement. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our formal commencement ceremony. No, don't lose those patients. Congratulations to all of our graduates, their families, and friends. Make sure to take pictures around campus. I now declare the commencement exercises of the Albert Einstein College of Medicine and the Einstein graduate programs in the biomedical sciences to be officially closed. Congratulations.
you.